Good morning. It is a science humanity class. The second class of the 7th week with the topic of cyborg think, extending the previous topic we discussed on Tuesday, behaviorisms. Then we may combine this cyborg think issue, cyborg think topic into with that the behaviorisms. So in terms of the human nature adaptation to the modern society, especially under digital technologies and hyper connected society. So with a lot of the high uncertainty, we would like to think of on a risky the society. So after midterm examination, we are discussing automations. So then we are going to bring a different the scale of value as a substitution of the human labor. So with the digital society, we can bring the value to save nature, save human ethics. So then we bring another issue, for example, data, the value of data, the value of other digital society technologies. So a lot of things. Then we would like to establish the ground of the human nature with respect to terminology, newly defined cyborg. So then that's the topic of today's class. So before that, I'd like to wind up and to bring the one example of behaviorisms in terms of the community. The behaviorism, once again, one of the branch of psychology long time ago after Second World War, especially in the 50s, very popular. Introduced by William James, followed by Professor B.F. Skinner from Harvard, and they would like to touch behavior of the human being instead of a human itself in terms of the human nature, because very difficult to touch and understand scientifically human nature, because human nature is the invisible things. So instead, if we extract some the behaviors of the human being, and then we can transform those into certain things adaptable to the especially environment as opposed to the systems. And then behavior of a human. So the behavior of the human can be divided into three different things from the previous class. First one is basic instinct, from hunger, from love, from other the survival mechanisms of the human nature. We have a basic instinct as well. And the secondary, we have instructive behavior. So aroused from our will, if any, if we believe it is. So there is will to produce our the human behavior and sometimes action. And then with those being combined by the human being collectively, sometimes from consciousness, sometimes from basic instinct, the human being has been successful to survive under harsh conditions. Then from the theory of Charles Darwin, nature selected the survival of human being. Then we define those situations as the COS, so contingency of the survivor. Okay, so those categorized behavior can be inherited from older generation to next generation. Also, those the behavior can be transferred into next generation as well. So the genetically other the condition as well. So there is another behavior, the so-called operant behavior. We already define those behavior is not inherited genetically to next generation, but within one's life, we can change, or we can extract those behavior out of a human being. So using design the conditions, design the environment. So with that, so if we properly design environment, so where the human being extracted their own behavior out of, and then we can suppose we can solve many different problems from those behavior designed and extracted from environment. But those area can indirectly and directly to the education, but not transfer to the next generation in terms of inheritance. So that's the COR, contingency reinforcement. So in which our behavior from human being can be adjusted to environment. With those, we can control our society accordingly. That's the basic theory of behaviorisms. So then we already discussed that. So I already mentioned on Tuesday, Professor Skinner would like to publish his the first novel titled Walden 2 after Second World War, because he was so frustrated from human nature, human reasons, from mass killing by the devils such as Japan and Germany at that time. Okay, so that's his intention to build the small community to be extended to larger society. So, but you would like to design relatively small community village based on his philosophy of behaviorism, which is a psychology area. So Walden 2, which is a novel, published in 1948. So with the population of 1,000 persons, so happy. He would like to design those Walden 2. The following the philosophy Haley Davis almost the decades ago, couple of decades ago, from David Thoreau's book of Walden. And then he used differently his psychology of behaviorism to design the certain the small community. So the targeting being happy. So we already discussed a few weeks ago, the human nature tried to achieve two different goals. The first one, survival, right? The second one is happiness. So happiness can be defined differently. The first one maximize a certain contentment, or the second, we can define the happiness as the being with despair being minimized as much as possible. The first one, we define the certain the philosophy of the maximizing of happiness. The second one is a pessimism types of the happiness definitions. If we have only a single member who suffer from the certain unhappiness, so despair, we are not happy at all. That's the second definition of pessimism, especially done by Schopenhauer. Okay, so happy community is minimization is unnecessary work to be done. So we have a lot of responsibility, a lot of work to be done to survive in this society. So according to Professor Skinner, we are not happy at all. Based on his definitions, to be happy for us, to have our society with the minimum necessity of the work and the labor. That's his definition. So he would like to design a relatively small community titled Walden 2, where we can achieve a certain the purposes and necessities such as food, such as other systematic service to be provided by minimum responsibility of the labor or work. And that's the definition of the happiness for the community of Walden 2, designed by Professor Skinner. So that's the Walden 2 novel based on in terms of education and economic and medical systems and many different things. So that's the Skinner's hope to design his the village, his community. So he would like to design a small community, not by convincing person to work very hard to compete each other in an effective way, but using technologies. What kind of technologies? To design condition where we have happiness based on definition of happiness of his. So minimize the work is more than enough to be happy. So that's his philosophy. So he would like to use a technology of designing condition and environment where we can be happy based on those definitions. Okay, so he suggested certain types of economics. He suggested certain types of education system. He proposed the certain types of politics as well. Not necessarily the good leaders, but by committee members as more. In returns, they are going to be responsible for. So nobody wants to be the leader as a political persons to control their society. So that way they operate those the community the systems. How about the principles? So what was the basic essence of the philosophy of the community? Happiness. Happiness can be achieved from not outside of the system, but inside the system. Once they design properly, effectively, certain environment from which they can be happy from the system of the education, economics, politics, and the medicals, and marriage systems, and many different things. Okay, so that's his intention. So he the stress about the science as well. So as you mentioned, he told the Walden 2, which is community. The happiness community is not philosophical. So which means, so if you have a strong philosophy, strong spirit, strong convincing the moral, ethic, so we can be happy. So that's from many different philosophers like Thomas More in his book of Utopian. But Professor Skinner would like to introduce not the philosophical convincing, such as from Thomas More, but scientific utopia. What could be science? Systematic design, which is a systematic design of of a subsystem, such as education, economics, politics, and different things. So he he does not tell the human nature is not important, but so acknowledging human nature and human spirit is still are very important, but to upgrade or appreciate those nature of human being in terms of philosophy, in terms of other ethical and morality, we have to design properly condition and environment, because those are everything to extract the human behavior in a positive way. Okay, that's the his philosophy with the philosopher psychology. Okay, so that's the, so there is one the community right now in US in actual. So the name is the Twin Oak community, and here is a website that you can visit sometime if you're interested in. So that's the community movement in US, the Virginia. So they follow Skinner's philosophy, Skinner's design, Skinner's happiness definition, Skinner's the behaviorisms. Okay, so there are internship program as well. So you'd like to be intern at the community of Twin Oak. So you may visit sometimes for a month, for a year. So to experience those behaviorisms, the based utopian community. So do you think how many community inside Korea with their own philosophy, with their own things? If you're foreign countries, think of how many or which kind of community do you have in your country. So for example, in India, there is Auroville community. So where this is not a religion types of the community. So they would like to build the community without money. So economically, they are not independent right now, but only 20%, they say only 20 or 25% of food and economic the supplies. So independently actually the supporting within the society, but 80% approximately from outside of that community European. But they would like to, they still using the Indian currency, but they would like to develop their own money, and basically or ultimately they would like to build the community without any money at all. So community generally targeted the society without money. How about in Korea? So we have many different communities. For example, as religion communities, green communities, philosophical communities, economic communities. So then you are interested in community, the movement, community practice. So the couple of times you may visit the Twin Oak, Auroville, even the domestic community in Korea. Then so you experience their philosophy and compare to those ones from Skinner's Walden too. Okay, so that's my suggestion if you're interested in those one. And after 1948, and especially at 50s, behaviorism is very popular at that time. So even in linguistic area, the verbal behavior was very hot at that time. Okay, so of course there are criticism as well. So even if those tests not successful, this is only the virtual community movement, which is novel, but only 1,000 village is even if it is very successful. how we actually extend those the movement and the practice into the larger society, like a Seoul, like a New York, like Mumbai, like Beijing. How was it? So you are skeptical in that regions. So there are controversy, I believe. If you succeed with the small community, which is pilot test, you can extend. Who dare be the successful with his movement? Can you excuse me? Without any the pilot test. Okay. And also, is a big one always effective? Do you think? The big means may have some kind of some powers, but it's difficult to control. So we are going to discuss this issue as well, because we are living in the society of big society equipped with the digital technologies. So the big and the small, the concept are different from those in the 50s. When Professor Skinner's the practice his novel at that time. But right now, big and small, it doesn't matter sometimes. So we can extend it to that the topic with the terminology, with the definition of the cyborg. Okay. Even if it's a small community, it's relative to find the solution, and then we use those solutions through scale up. Okay. Especially in terms of distribution of wealth, because we've been suffering from inequality of wealth under society of capitalism right now, the job opportunity as well. So with these types of a small community, we can practice, we can test distribution of wealth with and without money, with the basic income or not, and job opportunities we can be the positive on that. So on the digital society, without any job at all, it's a permanent job at all, I mean, okay. And population control, of course. Okay. So there are other the merit with that much small community, more chance to contribute with their talent in science, education, and art, and many areas. When you read the Walden 2, there are, of course, the scientists, the teachers and artists, so the medical doctors and the politicians, of course, but they are not to be that solely through their lifelong, I mean. So sometimes they would like to be scientists. They would like to be sometimes the other way, educator and artist, medical doctor and cleaner, political persons. Why it is possible? So right now in this society, here in Korea and in other countries, we have to a certain designate specific occupation, specific talent, specific job throughout our the life. That much we are living in a complicated as well as a complex society. If you select a certain job and next year you select another one, probably you cannot be successful at all, because so are the competition from that. But the basic necessity of a supply of the goods and services that can be supplied with the minimum, the payment of money, if any, or other exchange systems. So we'd like to be anyone who is majoring a different area as well. This year probably, and maybe under those conditions, I can be scientist this year. Next year, I can be the artist. The following year, I can be a novelist to write a novel. But in the larger society, please imagine who is popular in artist. Very small and selected person. Supertypes of that. How about the soccer player? We all remember, or we know, acknowledgeable talent of Son Heung-min, but the other soccer player, how about that? They are pretty much public, like us, like you, like me, but we only remember the first top player, like Messi, like Son Heung-min. But somebody would like to play soccer as well. But nobody cares, nobody concerned. Okay. So it doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter as far as we are able to play as a soccer player to contribute to our society, where everybody conceived and acknowledge each other. With that, we need some certain condition under which we are provided with the basic necessity of food, living, money, sometimes, and services and housing. With those conditions, we can survive with the minimum responsibility of working and labor. And then we probably, I'm not sure, but we may be open to other persons without talent sometimes, without ranking. So right now, we are living in a complex and complicated society. Only small top player, top worker can take everything. Like winners take everything. So the Professor Skinner's design the philosophy to design the community, named Walden 2, with a small community inside that. So the certain necessity that provided enough to be surviving and sustainable, and then everybody can do everything. So that's the philosophy. Okay. So there are a couple of more. So then you can read those things. Okay. So lives in a world too. Please imagine. So if you visit this community, we don't have this community, but if you go to the Virginia, the Twin Oak, then you can experience a similar, but not exactly the same as the lives in the world too. But if you visit, you can imagine there is no money at all. There is no money. So utopian types of life. But the points so I'm not sure points are different from money, but point is another format of money. So whatever that is, that's the point obtainable from everyday work 4 hours, only 4 hours. You can work a day and then you can survive. You can live with only 4 points a day. So yearly you can get 1,200 points are enough to live in that community. Okay, so that's the utopia, right? So utopia is sometimes imaginable, impossible, the community in actual world, but we can refer to these conditions. Your minimum necessity, minimum responsibility, make us as happy as possible. So then they have the bonus as well, 1.5 instead of 1 for a hard worker. such as a soil cleaner, like environmental engineers, so can get more point, higher point than the other job. Okay, so they can select their own occupations, job, such as doctor, gardening, but the point is the same, right? Point is the same from a same everyday work, the 4 hours per day. There is a planning committee, the kind of the politician persons, the 6% out of 1,000. So they are responsible to serve for their community for 10 years. Only the 600 point, the pay for their committee job, which means, so to live a year, so they need 1,200 points, right? So 600 point for political person and committee member, which means that they have to work as well, physical work as well. So that's the things. Other job, of course, a scientist, and there are many musicians and musical concert as well. So Professor Skinner mentions marriage in a different way. So I'm not sure you agree with these types of marriage for a society. Please read it. So if you're interested in this, marriage side is very interesting, I believe. The children education as well. In summary, utopia is utopia. This is only experiment. But the Professor Skinner from Harvard, so I tried to design, because he believed behaviorisms other than any other psychology and philosophy. But however, the utopia is utopia. It's with a lot of limitations. But his methods are prevailing everywhere, even at the present times. So I already mentioned AI, machine learning, deep learning as well. Using behaviorism's technology, based on COR. Okay, so this is the first participations. Please give me one sentence or one phrase, one word with a novel on Walden 2. Okay, please. Okay. And today, we are going to discuss about the cyborg thing. Then we have to define the cyborg, what cyborg is. So you don't have to stick at one fixed definition of a cyborg. A cyborg can be differently defined by yourself. Even with your report, with your writing an essay, the cyborg may be different, may vary depending on your definitions. It's okay, but you have to define on your own. And then from those definitions from your side, and then you extend the idea into design of a society with respect to system, with respect to condition and environment, where we can put our behavior and actions, even thinking the process are to be placed. So that's the cyborg think. By the way, what is thinking? So thinking is different from behaving and action. So to behave, animal can behave. Even zombie behave. But do you think the animals think? Of course they think, I believe. With that, what is thinking? Thinking is the making a form. Making a form. What do you mean by the form? What do you mean by the form? We already discussed this one. Do you remember? As opposed to norm and the frame. So we have a three different order. Okay, first one, form. F-O-R-M. F-O-R-M. Second one, norm. N-O-R-M. Third is a frame. So if someone have only frame, like my glasses, my spectacle, so we can see our world only through this the spectacles, glasses. So only through small the occasion, small window. Through that the windows we can see every word, whatever it is, whatever they are wide. Okay, so that's the frame. We generally have a freedom of the frame. Individual has freedom. Our society may have a certain frame, the probably from ideology. So whatever they are left, whatever they are right, or conservative persons, progressive person, without respect to those ideology, human may have certain frame to look at the world. It's very convenient to see. Please look at yourself. Please look at yourself, your individual and yourself. You may have a frame, whatever occurrence, whatever appearance, whatever event occur, you would like to see, you would like to watch those events only through your frame. Only through your frame. The frame is very powerful. It's like a window. It's like a glasses. Okay. Without breaking your window, without breaking your glasses, you always stick to or addicted to your frame to look at, to watch the world, other persons, a certain book as well. Okay. So that's the frame. What is the norm as opposed to frame? Frame is a very robust window, but norm is like regulations, like customs, which we have, which our culture have, which our society and the law system has. So we have a norm, then we follow those norms. I believe every frame is a norm, but not every norm is a frame. So frame is only the part of this norm. Okay. How about the form we are now interested in? To think. Thinking is nothing but produce certain types of the form. The form, so if you think collectively and individually, we can make small order, small pattern. It's very flexible, like a liquid, not a solid, not any other things. So it is like the gaseous, the fluid, the gaseous liquid types of form. It's very flexible, very weak. Please look at the sky. Please look at the sun. We can see a cloud formed, right? At a specific time, at a specific moment. But next moment, the next time, those formed cloud disappear, or they accumulated, or They may be disappearing. That's the form. Form is unstable at all. So we think to have a form, and then forming a form collectively by the culture, by the society, can be norm. Norm is to be fixed, to be frame. Frame is very difficult to break it. But the form is very difficult to have it because they have freedom. They have a lot of freedom because they are unstable at all. Okay, so thinking is like that. So cyborg, we have to define it. You have to define it. And then a cyborg think that can be understood by combining those definitions of a cyborg and thinking process instead of action and behavior. So that's the topic of today. Okay, cyborg. So from the long time ago, cyborg terminology was firstly introduced to the public from the research of aerospace to adapt to harsh conditions when traveling outside the space area. So for example, the space suit, 우주복, space suit. So from this, the paper, so cyborg handbook, cyborg was defined. Please look at these definitions. Cyborg is described as beings, the human or animal or whatever that is, a robot, of course, and that use external component to extend self-regulatory control function of the organism to adapt to new environment. Okay, keep in mind this one. This is the first definition with the cyborg, long time ago, 1960. So with that definition, do you think we are cyborg or not? What do you think? We are cyborg or not? So we are doing certain the purpose. We are doing a class with certain purposes through Zoom right now. So to do the class with a regulative control function, right? So we are organisms right now, and to adapt to what kind of environment? COVID environment, right? COVID environment. Long time ago, 1960s, they would like to use a cyborg technology to adapt to space environment, but we are going to solve a problem aroused from the COVID environment right now, and then we would like to use a Zoom system to do these types of class through regulating control function. Of course, control function. So we don't have any telepath. We don't have any communication. So we cannot use the cell phone to do this class, right? So that's why we are using external component of Zoom right now. So we are, by this definition, we are cyborg right now. Okay, based on definition of a cyborg, but you don't have to stick to as I already mentioned. You may differently define cyborg. Okay. Do we prefer to be either smart who do not have to think or cyborg who thinks? Which means, so I'd like to ask these questions. So there are two different options. Once we accept we are cyborg, but we would like to think. But the other way, we don't accept we are cyborg. But we can use technology. To achieve the purposes. So we only behave as a smart person with the technology, with the help of technology, but without any thinking. So if there are only two different options, which one do you prefer to be, cyborg or human who is smart? So that's my question. Of course, you can do, okay, of course, you'd like to be the smart person who can also think. Okay, that's the best way. But generally, with the cell phone, with the digital technologies, it's very difficult, I believe. So you may have a different opinion. I believe it's very difficult to think. Okay, think. But accepting cyborg to be us, to be ourselves, sometimes we can find a way to think. To think is to make which one? Form. Not follow norm, customs, law, and frame, but we would like to have a form from this class, from your college life, university life. After graduation, you'd like to form of your life with the society under digital and other economic system and technology. What kind of cyborg do we have? There are two different types of cyborg in the book here listed. The first one, restorative. If someone is injured, if someone lost their organ and limb, or someone disabled person, so we can take restorative technology, restorative cyborg, to be a restorative cyborg. So there are a lot of possibility in this area as well. Second category, second types of cyborg is enhanced cyborg. Without any the lost functions, organ and limb, but we still would like to be a cyborg to enhance, to increase our capacity to do something with the help of additive technology, especially IT, digital technology, which can increase one's capacity to do something of a general norm. Okay? And then what do you think you can do as a cyborg if you accept a cyborg? Enhanced cyborg especially. For you, in the society where you belong, as we discussed, we are doing this class even under COVID catastrophe. We are still doing a class and discussions. We can enjoy movie, we can enjoy play and opera at home with the technology of VR, right? The VR, AR systems, apparatus. Then we are pretty much a cyborg to enjoy art. We can communicate it newly using cell phone and other technology as well. Okay, so the cyborg is like that. How about the zombie? So I'm not telling we are zombie, but zombie behavior, right? According to behaviorisms. Please getting back to behaviorism, one of a psychology suggested by Professor Skinner. They move to, based on their basic instinct. So they can be equipped with mask, digital headphone as well. So they move towards their basic instinct, the instructive behavior as well, but they don't think, right? They don't think. I don't think that they can think. They just flow according to their instinct. But seemingly, on the surface, they behave. Sometimes they looks able to act as well. But we don't believe they think to take a form. Probably they have a frame, I believe. I'm not sure. You agree? They may have a frame to look at the world because of a very small window. Okay. So smart, once again, the smart person as opposed to cyborg, a think person. Cyborg, a think person as opposed to smart person. Only difference is the behavior and the thinking process, thinking mechanisms. So I'm not telling you if we are using a cell phone, if we are doing game, we ought to make a cyborg without any thinking. No, I'm thinking beyond that. Accepting those cyborg situations, we may think further and beyond the capability rather than once we used to be long time ago without any detailed technologies, even with the help of a digital technology, we may think. That's my discussion point. After midterm examinations, I'd like to bring another issue of automatic society. With that, we can think still. We can think better than ever, better than before. We used to be. The smarter person is good. Smart person is good, but as far as they don't think, I don't accept it. Smart is smart, but smart to follow guideline. Do you think that's smart? Please look at the very controlled society, expertise, like LH. So they are smart, right? Not everyone in LH, so some bad persons, average person with average, they are smart to follow guideline to be rich, to make money. So that's the smart person as well. If I tell they are cyborg, they reject it probably. But so we may accept we are cyborg, but not smartly, but to be able to think, with the help of a digital society, a digital technology, excuse me. Okay, participation 2. What do you think? What do you think you can do as a non-cyborg? So you don't have any digital technology. You don't have any cell phone. You don't have any computer. You don't have any communication tool, digital based. So what can you do for our society right now or in the future? So please give me. 그리고 한번 생각해 보시죠. 지금 셀폰이 없고 컴퓨터가 없고 만약에 그런 게 없다면 우리는 과연 무엇을 할 수 있을까요, 지금? 여기에 대해서 자유롭게 답을 좀 주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 한번 좀 생각해 볼 만한 주제인 것 같아서 여러분한테 여쭤봅니다. So I hope to continue our discussion with the digitals throughout this the class. So I selected digital, mobile life. In this semester, different from the last year and even before, because we are living in, and you are even in digital society, or you are digital generations born after 1989, right? So I'm not a generation of a digital, but so we are both living in the digital society, and so we are probably going to accept the cyborg, and then we developed our language differently. So of course we are using the Korean alphabet and English alphabet and other linguistic tools, but we have to develop the newly. Of course, we are a lot of other alternatives, but we developed newly to do not follow norm and the frame, but to form a new order to design our society based on behaviorism, based on philosopher Cyborg, based on our previous topic, such as risk, concern, many others. Okay, so then long time ago, Oedipus and Sphinx, Sphinx reader, he survived. I mean, Oedipus survived by giving the Sphinx right answer of a human, but right now it's not human, but what? Sign, digital sign. Digital sign is everything to survive, with which we can survive. The long time ago, King Oedipus, the king, survived as a human. But right now, he has to be cyborg to survive with a sign. So a digital sign. The sign is only tool with which we transfer and transport our meaning to other person. Without communication, we cannot survive. We already discussed in the section of communication, system and environment, right? 예전에 오이디푸스 왕은 사람이다 이렇게 얘기해서 살아났죠. 스핑크스 수수께끼. 지금은 어떤 기호, 많은 기호학자들이 그런 얘기를 하죠. 지금은 그 인류가 다시 살아나기 위해서는 기호가 필수적이다라고 얘기를 합니다. 그래서 제가 이 주제를 꺼냈고요. And continuously, so we have to develop our own sign with the digital technology, because new generations are developing their own sign, including language, including code, including the program, including the design, the form, okay, then we can survive. The cyborg and a social network. Okay, I'm not sure we have enough time to finish up. Okay, so let me read this one. Cyborg are not just about technology and human, but network and information. Okay, cyborg are not just the technology and human and robot, but network and information. So we are living together with the network right now, and information to be transferred among us. So there are concepts of a micro singularity, micro singularity. Have you heard about this one? Singularity concept. So a micro singularity describes a moment. So we feel or we can experience the certain moment, certain time, where and when everyone connected almost simultaneous at the same time with the network, through the network with the information. So for example, 2008, China experienced very high, so 7.8 the earthquake. So they tweeted to inform those risky situations to other Twitter. So the speed of transfer through Twitter to other persons, they actually faster than earthquake itself. So this information of earthquake distributed and shared between the persons who are member of this network almost at the same time, simultaneously. You know what I'm saying? So then it is not open very much, but we can experience this micro singularity. Michael Jackson died in 29th in the BBC broadcast. So almost everyone in the world shared this information through their SNS. So after this, the broadcasting from the BBC website, the internet speed dramatically reduced at that time. So then the people in the world share the sorrow of Michael Jackson's death. So it's one example of the micro singularity. So we have a certain moment, when we feel or we know, we share a certain information corresponding to that almost at the same time, almost simultaneously. That's the singularity. So we are living in a super connected society because we are, or we may be, a cyborg connected to that. The priests do not reject we are cyborg. Instead, we use the cyborg concept to be more human, the better human, to design our society the better, to be or to create new society which is better than ever, better than before, because we are living in digital times. So after midterm examinations, I will bring another issues with new value. Okay, new value. So after midterm examinations, next Tuesday, I will give you through the Blackboard, through email to you. Please keep in that, and you have 3 days to finish up and your midterm examination. So in the midterm examination sheets, so I will explain the problem and then ask you to prepare your 2-minute presentation to mutually evaluate each other the following weeks. Okay. Thank you for your participations, and okay, thank you and good day. Good luck for your midterm examination. Thank you.